You know, all that talk about sarcopenia lately, like losing muscle as we age, becoming frail. Well, we had some listener questions about that, and turns out there's something called anabolic resistance involved, right?
Yeah, it's a big factor. Basically, as we get older, our bodies just don't build and maintain muscle as easily as they used to.
Okay, so it's not just in our heads. It's like our bodies literally become resistant to our efforts.
Exactly. It's like the signals in our bodies that tell our muscles to grow, they kind of get weaker over time.
Hmm.
Imagine trying to send a signal on a really old staticky phone line. That's kind of what's happening.
Wow, that's a good analogy. So it's not just that we're getting older, but our bodies are getting worse at using the tools we have to stay strong.
Right. And the research you sent over, that study by Aragon, Tipton, and Schoenfeld, it pointed to some key reasons, WH, why this happens. Like at the smallest level, our molecular processes, the actual signals for muscle growth, they just get less efficient.
So a communication breakdown at a cellular level. What else is going wrong?
Well, you know amino acids are the building blocks of protein, right? And they have to actually reach our muscles to do any good.
Right, makes sense.
Turns out the transportation system for those amino acids, it doesn't work as well when we're older either, like a traffic jam in our bloodstream. So even if the signal's getting through, the building materials might be delayed.
Oh man, our poor muscles. Not getting the message, not getting the supplies. Is there anything else working against them in there?
Well, there's some really interesting new research on this. It seems our gut might actually be part of the problem. Like as we age, the gut starts hogging amino acids for itself, leaving less for the muscles to use.
Wait, seriously? Our own gut is stealing our gains. Why would it do that?
It's still being studied, but it looks like as we get older, the gut's own needs for protein might increase, which means even if you're eating enough, your muscles might not be getting their fair share.
That is wild. It's like our bodies are working against us in this whole muscle building process. So this is where I start to worry. Is there anything we can do about it?
Absolutely. Don't worry, it's not all doom and gloom. Just knowing about anabolic resistance is a huge first step. And there are definitely things you can do to fight back.
Okay, so we've uncovered some seriously weird stuff about what happens inside as we get older. But is aging the only thing working against us? Like, are there lifestyle choices we're making that might be making this whole anabolic resistance thing even worse?
You're right on the money with that one. Aging is natural, sure, but the way we live can definitely make this whole anabolic resistance thing a lot worse.
Okay, hit me with it. What are the biggest culprits?
Well, two big ones come to mind right away. Obesity and just not moving enough, living a sedentary lifestyle. Both of those can really mess with your body's ability to hold on to muscle.
Okay, let's break those down. Obesity first. How does that tie into all of this?
Well, obesity often goes hand in hand with something called insulin resistance. Remember how we were talking about those muscle building signals? Insulin's a big part of that.
Right, right.
So when your body becomes resistant to insulin, it's like those signals are trying to get through all this static. The message gets all garbled.
Oh, so it's adding even more interference to those already messed up signals we talked about.
Exactly. And to top it off, being obese usually comes with more inflammation throughout your body. That kind of chronic inflammation sucks up resources that your body could be using to repair and build muscle. It's like your system's too busy putting out fires to focus on anything else.
Man, that's a rough deal. Okay, so what about the sedentary lifestyle part? How does that factor in?
Well, think about it. If you're not using your muscles, your body's not going to bother maintaining them, right? It's use it or lose it, plain and simple.
Yeah, that's fair. Anything else?
Oh, yeah. Sitting around all the time often leads to both those things we just talked about, obesity and insulin resistance.
Yeah.
Vicious cycle, right? Like adding fuel to the fire.
This is a lot. Feels like everything's out to get our muscles as we age, from our own insides to the choices we're making. I gotta admit, it's kind of disheartening. Is there any hope? Can we actually effrechtee this stuff?
Oh, absolutely. That's the whole point of understanding the science behind it. Knowledge is power, right? When you make smart changes to how you live, you can totally take control of your muscle health as you age.
Okay, phew. Give me some good news then. What are the best ways to fight back against this anabolic resistance?
Two things come to mind. First, exercise. And not just any exercise, specifically resistance training. Second, we got to talk protein, how much you're getting, but also when and what kind.
Okay, exercise. Let me guess. A leisurely stroll around the block isn't going to cut it, is it?
I mean, every little bit helps, right? But to really combat this thing, you got to challenge those muscles, make them want to grow. That's where resistance training comes in. It's like sending your muscles a wake-up call.
I like it. So give me the down and dirty. What exactly do we need to be doing?
Think weightlifting, resistance bands,
Hmm.
even bodyweight stuff like squats and push-ups and lunges. Anything that creates resistance forces those muscles to work harder than they want to.
So everyone needs to hit the gym and start pumping iron every day.
Not necessarily. The beauty of this is you can totally tailor it to yourself, your fitness level, what you want to achieve. Start with a weight or resistance that's tough but doable, where you can keep good form.
Good point. What about folks who are older, maybe haven't been active in a while? Safe to jump into this at any age?
That's a great question. It's always smart to check with your doctor first or a good
Right.
physical therapist before you start any new workout routine, especially as you get older, that can help you figure out what's safe and what's going to work best for you, any limitations you might have.
Good advice. So we've talked about challenging those muscles. Now let's talk about feeding them. Protein. Everyone's favorite subject. I know it's crucial for building muscle, but is it really as simple as just like, eat more protein?
It's a little more complicated than that, especially when you bring this anabolic resistance thing into the picture. As we get older, our bodies just aren't as good at using protein. So it's not just how much you eat, it's also when you eat it and what kind of protein you're choosing.
Ooh, okay, this is where it gets interesting. Lay that protein strategy on me.
So research is showing that older adults, they actually do better when they spread their protein out evenly throughout the day instead of one big protein-heavy meal and then not much the rest of the time. It's like you got to keep a steady supply of those amino acids coming in so your body can actually use them to build muscle.
Ah, keeping that muscle building crew constantly supplied with materials.
Exactly. Now, about choosing the right types of protein, there's this one amino acid that's like the VIP for building muscle, leucine.
Leucine, yeah, I've heard that name thrown around.
So leucine is like the magic ingredient that really kicks off muscle protein synthesis. But as we age, our bodies get a little less sensitive to it. So we got to be smart about getting enough.
So not all protein is created equal. Got to prioritize the leucine-rich stuff.
Bingo. Things like whey protein, beef, chicken, fish, even soy products. Those are all great sources of leucine. Work those into your diet, and you'll be giving your body what it needs to keep building those muscles.
I'm learning so much. It's way more than just hitting a protein target on your tracking app, huh? Timing, types of protein, this whole leucine thing.
For sure. And honestly, there's so much more we're still learning about protein and how it affects our muscles, especially as we get older.
So cool. Okay, I'm feeling a lot more hopeful now that we've gone over this stuff about exercise and protein. Feels like there's actually something we can do about this. But there's a lot to remember. As we head into our final thoughts, what are like the big takeaways you want people to remember? So much good info. Oh, something I was wondering about. We talked about protein, getting enough leucine and all, but that research you shared, it mentioned all these different types of protein, right? Is it possible some are even better for this whole anabolic resistance thing than others?
That's a great question. And honestly, scientists are still figuring that out. We know leucine's key, but whether it's like whey protein or plant-based protein, are those doing different things in older adults? More research is definitely needed on that.
Wow, so even more to learn about fine-tuning our protein as we age. It's like a whole other layer on top of everything
It
else.
really is. That's what's so exciting about this stuff. There's always more to discover. What we think is true today might be totally different tomorrow as the research comes out.
I love that. Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you really want listeners to take away from all of this?
I think the big takeaway is this. Losing muscle as we get older, it's a real thing, but it doesn't have to happen. If you stay active, if you're smart about your protein intake, if you keep learning like you are now, you can absolutely hold on to that muscle mass and strength for years and years to come.
You heard it here, folks. Knowledge is power. And maybe do a little extra reading on those different protein sources. Sounds like there's a lot to learn there.
Couldn't agree more. Keep those muscles guessing.
Love it. And on that note, we're going to wrap up this deep dive into outsmarting age-related muscle loss. We hope you feel informed, empowered to take control of your muscle health as you age. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those muscles strong.